Good morning, everyone. We'll start the session in a couple of minutes. Good morning, everyone. We'll start the session in a couple of minutes. Hi everyone, Vanakkam, good morning Sri Lanka. Welcome to the second episode of HCL Tech Biz Talks. Through this virtual series, our aim is to engage and interact with professionals and tech enthusiasts on the latest trends in IT and technology industries. Our HCL leaders and experts will share insights on our path-breaking global IT solutions we provide to our customers. I am Chala Chandramouli, your host for this session. In today's session, you will know all about HCL's data and analytics practice. Before we start the session, we would like to play a short introductory video on HCL in Sri Lanka.
Good morning, Colombo. So tell me, how does your morning look like? Does it begin with a scenic view outside the window, enjoying the rain, and then catching up with your favorite ritual? While resolving a web application issue for a client sitting in Europe? Or maybe with a yoga session that keeps you energetic throughout the day until your housemates join in, while not missing on an important conference call with your colleagues sitting miles away. Or perhaps it's filled with action right when you wake up, followed by making breakfast for the A team in the kitchen, and also checking up with the other team about work. Work-life balance, you ask? For us, life at HCL Sri Lanka is more life than ever.
Moving on, to talk more about HCL Technologies in Sri Lanka, we have with us Thotadri Vaikuntham, Resident Director and Country Head, HCL Sri Lanka. Thotadri has over 2.5 decades of experience in ICT industry. He joined HCL in 2001 as a developer and since had many functions, including customer relationship, team management, project and program management. Thotadri moved to Colombo in 2019 to set up HCL's Global Delivery Center in Sri Lanka. Many customers of HCL Technologies are already being supported from the island of Ideapreneurs. Thotadri, sir, welcome to the session.
Thank you, Chala. Hi everyone, good morning to all. Chala, can you help bring the slides up? So I'll take the next 5-6 minutes to talk about HCL, give you an introduction for those who are uninitiated, and then hand it over to Satish, one of my colleagues who's going to talk about the data analytics. Um, HCL is a 10.5 billion USD company, right, in IT. We were focused on IT services till around 4-5 years back, but we have branched into a technology solutions company today. We have close to 176,000 employees, right, around the world. We call them ideapreneurs internally, people who work, who come up with ideas and solutions for the company, for our customers, while doing their job as well. We have established 50 delivery centers around the world, and we started a delivery center close to a year back. We are inching towards our first anniversary now in Sri Lanka. In September last year, right? So we started our operations in September, one of the 50 countries. And these are delivery centers from where we provide technology solutions to customers around the world. We have employees from 160 nationalities working out of these 50 countries. World's best employer, I'm sure all of you are aware, it's quite famous in Sri Lanka as well. We are number 30 globally and number 1 in India. Yeah, Chal, thank you. Moving on, so that's the introduction to you. I strongly urge all of you to please have a look at hcltech.com. That's our corporate website, HCL Technologies corporate website. Quite a lot of case studies and solutions that we are talking about in the website. And you will also get to know about the size and scale. But while we are very proud of how we have grown in the last 4 years, 5 years, or even earlier to that, what we are even more proud of internally is what we call as customer satisfaction scores, right? CSAT scores. The CSAT score is actually done by a third-party entity. They go to the various customers that HCL serves today, and we get the CSAT scores collated. It's rated on a scale of -7 to +7, and you can see the scores that we have got over the last decade, which has been growing steadily. So this growth is even more priced than the revenue and margin growths that we were talking about in the previous slide. Chala? What do we do as a company, right? I talked about HCL Technologies being a technology solutions company. So you have 3 boxes here. These are predominantly the 3 areas of solutions that we provide to our customers. The one on the left contributes to around 70% of the revenue that HCL Technologies makes today. So it's a combination of what we call as digital foundation, digital business, and digital operations. Digital foundation are the foundation services, including the infrastructure services that we provide to our customers. So from networks to the various Windows, Linux boxes and administration of them, to the app server administration, to messaging servers, to database servers, to security solutions, cloud virtualization solutions, all and cybersecurity, all of them contribute to the digital foundation services. These are the foundation of the solution for the consumer, right, for the customer. Then the second bouquet of services is the digital business services, which are the traditional, including the traditional application development, technology solutions, the various platforms that I'm sure all of you are aware of, and any digital transformation solutions that are required for our customer. One of the areas of both of these are what we are going to talk about today. And on top of both of these, we also help quite a lot of customers on the digital operations, the operations of the business for our customers. So that's the summary of IT and business services. And as I said, contributes to around 70% of the business. The one in the center, engineering and R&D services, is the DNA of our company. From the time it started in the mid-1970s, HCL has been an R&D company and an engineering company all through. In fact, we are, again, if you go to hcltech.com, you will see we have one of the oldest operating systems that we released as a company. We had a database management system, a DBMS at that time that we had released, way forward thinking DBMS at that time that we have as HCL had released. Quite a lot of the uh, product engineering uh, services that we provide to our customers are provided through engineering and R&D services. So that's the DNA. That's something that we have been doing for quite a long time. We are very proud of. And the last one on the right that you see, the products and platforms, is the new entrant, is the new kid in the block. We've started this as a service only in the last 5 years, and it's generating close to around 10% of the revenue. We have more than 150 IPs with us, and so these organically and inorganically grown IPs are forming the products and the various platforms and the products that we sell to our customers. So that's in summary the various solutions and services that we provide to our customers. Now, what are the various industries that we cater to? Right. So we pretty much cater to all the verticals that you can think of. Now, each of these obviously have their own IT needs. And if you look at, say, financial services as an example, the top 10 global Fortune 500 companies, the top 5 of the 10 are HCL's customers, and we are actively providing services to them. And so on, right? If you look at manufacturing, the top 7 out of 10. If you look at network and storage organizations, all the top 5. If you look at TMEP, telecom, media, entertainment, the top 10 of the 20, and so on. What does it mean to us, right, as people who are listening to this, is that we get the top customers in each of these industry segments to Sri Lanka. And all of our employees and anybody listening here, when you join us, you will get to work on cutting edge technologies for the top customers in the world. So this is a representation of the various industry segments that we offer solutions. Moving on, we also touched upon the various countries where we are providing services. So these are the 50 countries where we provide services as of today. Sri Lanka is one of the newest countries that we have entered, less than a year, and I think we still have the feel of the startup as an organization here in Sri Lanka. Moving on, let me dwell a little bit more on the Sri Lankan office. This is my last slide before I hand it over back to Chella. We started in September, as I said, just inching towards our anniversary. We are just crossed 930 as our headcount. And I'm pretty sure in another 2-3 weeks we'll cross our 1,000. Our growth plans are close to 1,500 people every year. So we want to cross 5,000 people within the next 3 years. We are currently based out of Orion City, Dametaguda. We have our first offices there. And for a few of you who have seen the news, we have just taken up another building in Cinnamon Life. We have taken close to 20 floors. So that will be our second office, which will stand for a few years to come. So you can see some of the best infrastructures of offices for an IT company here in these two places. We currently have close to 50 customers who have already transitioned to HCL Sri Lanka. So that's a quick summary of where we are today in Sri Lanka. But while you can see these great infrastructures in the offices, we are extremely proud of the biggest asset that we have, which are all the people, all the employees of us. That's what we are really proud of. Today, we are, as Chala said, this is the second this talk. We have more to come. Please watch this space. Keep coming back and keep having a look at it. Happy learning to all of you. I think in our industry, we have to keep ourselves updated all the time. It's a knowledge industry. And I am thrilled to be here learning today with Satish. Over to you, Chala. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tota. Moving on to the session of the day, we have Mr. Satish Mani, General Manager, HCL Technologies. He will be taking the session on building a modern data platform. Satish has over 15 years of ICT experience. He joined HCL in 2010 and leads data and analytics portfolio for Europe region. So during this session, you can leave your comments you can leave your queries as your comments, and we will get it answered in our Q&A session. Satish, the session is yours.
Visible as well? All right. Right. I hope I'm audible. Chala, can you present the deck that I have?
Sure.
Yeah. And while it gets presented, good morning, Sri Lanka. Thanks for joining this session, the tech-based session today. We're going to focus on digital analytics. Yeah, we'll also talk about what is HCL's overall capability, what are we trying to service our customers, etc. Plus, we'll also talk about one big case study where we have transformed the customer within the digital and data analytics space, right? So before we talk about or get into the slides, while Chala is bringing up, I was told that there is going to be a mix of people here. Some fresh out of college, some with some experience around working in an IT organization, etc. But I will start with some basics so that it resonates with everyone in the group before I go into the details and talk about what we are doing. So if we can go to the next slide, the first slide. So what is a data platform and why do we actually need a data platform, right? Go to the next slide before I talk about the challenges, etc. Now in a large enterprise, as you all know, there are large enterprise, mid-size enterprise, and depending on the size of the enterprise, the number of applications that each of the enterprise have will vary. If you take a large enterprise, they might have about thousands of applications doing different functions. So for example, if I take a retailer, right, a large retailer who runs supermarkets, so on and so forth. Now let's say the primary business for them is to sell products, right? So when you sell product, there is a point of sale. So which is the sales, right? So there is an application that does point of sale, captures data in the point of sale. Now once the sale is done, then there is after sales as well, right? So then if the after sales, that's another functionality. So you need to have an application for that. Now let's go before sale. Before sale, you need to understand what are the products that you need to have in your store. Now that's the product inventory data that you need to have. That's another application. Now, if you have to have a product, you have to understand the demand. Now, for you to manage your demand, you need to have an application. Then, if you have to have a demand, then you need to have a supply chain. Supply chain is another function of itself, by itself, right? And then, if it's supply chain, then you will have to have multiple vendors supplying your products. So if you look at it at a very, very high level, I've already talked about 6 or 8 functions here. But in between, internally, there could be a number of additional functions as well. Each one of them will have their own application, right? Now how do you make intelligence on each of these applications? So let's take another example. Now you are now selling a product, and a sales manager wants to know which product at a particular point of time has been selling well, has not been selling well. So you need some amount of intelligence to make a decision or to look at the data and take a decision. Now if we and let's assume and he wants to focus on a specific store, right? So he has to go into the store data, abstract the data for it, then he has to get into the product data, get the data. So he has to get into multiple systems and then take the data together, put it in an Excel sheet or whatever he wants, and then try to put all of this together and bring out that intelligence. Do we in today's modern world, where there are so much of world is moving in such a speed pace, you can't be going into each application and bringing out the data and trying to make intelligence, right? You don't have that time now. So you need to have a central platform. Now, only when you have a central platform, which means you will have to get data from all of these applications into a platform, tie all of that data together. So each application might be having a different mechanism to store the data, different mechanism to process the data. One application could be using SQL Server, another application could be using Oracle, another application could be using MySQL. So there's so much of databases, Teradata, so on and so forth. Now, when you build a central platform, you need to have a unified storage mechanism, right? So you need to bring all of this data, unify that in a specific model, and then report on top of that. Now, when you do that, then it is very easy for you to build intelligence or take decisions from there, rather than going into 10 different places, right? And similarly, if you take a financial customer, for example, a financial big bank will not just have one line of business, right? They could have core banking system, which is savings, and that would have number of applications, which is customer onboarding, so on and so forth. You could then have mortgages, you could then have credit card, you could then have loans, you could have multiple lines of businesses. Now, as a customer to a bank, I could have a saving account, I could have a mortgage, I could have a credit card. You understand the complexity, right? So now, if Satish, if the bank wants to understand what is the exposure of Satish or what is the liability from Satish to the bank, it can't. The specific person cannot go into a saving account, look at my balance. They cannot go into a credit card application, look at what is the overdue that I have. It can't go to a loan application. Now it needs a unified platform, and that's where this entire concept of data platform evolved over a period of time, right? Now I've talked about some of the challenges, and when you're building a data platform, as I put it in the slide, right, there could be a number of things that you need to take care to mitigate the challenges that we have got. First is the data architecture. As I said before, the data could reside in the source system in multiple ways and formats, right? And if you're going to bring all of that into one central platform, you need to have a proper architecture design. Again, as the data is coming from different systems, you would have duplication of data. For example, Satish could be a customer in multiple places, right? So you need to ensure that you are not duplicating the data, because this is a single source of truth. The platform that you are going to build is a single source of truth. Latency of data. Again, as I said before, the data should be made available in the right time to make the right decision. So latency is very important. If you are going to bring the data, after the decision has been made, then there is no use of the data itself. So you need to ensure that the data is available in the platform in the right time. Volumes. As we are going to bring different data together, and now that world has become more digital, and people use mobile banking, people use so many channels to do transfer of data or transfer of money or whatever to do their purchases. Retail, again, if you look at Amazon, you could buy it to your laptop, you could buy it to your mobile phone, you could go into a store and buy it. So there's so many channels to buy data. So the volumes of data that is available for you to use has become humongous. Now you need to ensure that you have proper platform built, and that's what we call this session as modern data platform. Data platform has been there for ages now, but today, depending on the speed, we need to have a modern data platform to address all of these challenges, right? Increasing data types, structured, unstructured. There are so many formats of data now. Typically, if you look at 30 years back or 20 years back, there was only one structure, which was the flat table structure, right? You will have to have, but today you have unstructured, you have semi-structured data coming in XMLs, data coming in JSONs, data coming in IoT devices, smart devices. So the type of data itself has changed, and your platform should be able to manage all of this data. And vendor technology. Earlier, if you remember, when we all 10, 20 years back, you could either go into Teradata and have your data platform built on Teradata. You can go into Oracle and build it on it, right? But or Netezza or any other platform for that matter. But once you build it, you are stuck with them forever, right? But today, in the evolution of cloud, there is always an opportunity for you not to get into a vendor lock-in, but then use more and more open source to create a flexible data platform. And federated data models is another challenge that you need to, as I said before, there could be multiple data models, so you need to ensure that you have to bring all of the data into a unified data model. Time to market is very important. Analytics, right now today, it's not just about reporting the data. You also need to predict what is going to happen in the future. For example, if I have to sell my product, what sort of customers I should be attracting? What should I make the product so that it can be purchased by my customer, right? So analytics has become very important. We'll talk about that in detail in the upcoming slides. Performance. So if you have to do all of that, you need to ensure you have a platform that is highly scalable, highly flexible, highly performance as well, right? And one of the key challenges, you can't build it as a non-scalable platform. So as I said, you need to have an opportunity to scale that platform. So that's the background of why a data platform is required and what is a data platform. If there are any questions, feel free to put it on the chat. I'll answer it as we go along. So like we can move to the next slide, right? Now if you look at what are the key things, shall I there? Yeah. If you look at, okay, if you are building a data platform, now what are the key activities, right? So I don't want to bore you down with all the theoretical things. So I also want to talk about some of the opportunities that you will have to work in a data analytics program, right? So one is the first thing that you see here is the analysis, right? So as I said before, there are plenty of data available at source systems in the open market. You need to, if you have to bring all of the data into your platform, you need to analyze the data, understand the data, try to find the hidden patterns, hidden messages, hidden key items or insights within that data. That is very, very important. We'll also see what sort of roles we will need to perform all of these activities in the next slide. Once the data is analyzed, you understand, okay, these are the data that is available, and these are your business requirements, and this is the data that we should be bringing in from your source to cater to the business need. You need to ensure that you do a proper data model of that. If you don't do a proper data model, then you will not be able to have a performance output. For example, your reports may take a long time to run if your data model is not built the right way. You all would have learned in your college days, first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, etc. But for a data warehouse or for a data platform, beyond third normal form, there are multiple other data models that we have to do. For example, dimension modeling is one such model that has evolved over a period of time. Data vault model is something that is coming up new, so on and so forth, right? Once the data model is built, then the key thing is the data extraction part. Now, what is data extraction? So you have multiple source systems. You have to bring all of that data together. You need to extract the data. It could be various means. It could be extracting data from your smart devices. It could be extracting data from your machines. It could be extracting data from your RDBMS. It could be extracting data from your IoT devices, so on and so forth, right? Files, etc. Once the data is there, then you need to cleanse your data. You can't just dump your data and say, hey, I have all the data, now you start reporting. No, that won't work, right? You need to give them the proper opportunity to use the data. So which means you need to cleanse the data, make it in a usable format, so do all sort of transformations, processing before the data can be consumed by the business user. So once the data is set up in a nice way, then you do BI and data visualization, which is your reports, your visualization dashboards, KPIs, so on and so forth. And then finally the analytics part of it, right, which is data science, machine learning, predictions, accuracy, forecasting, so on and so forth, right? These are the very, very high level key activities that we do, and each one of them needs a specialization, which is what you will see in the next slide. So if we can go to the next slide, Achala. Right. So if you look at this, there are different streams. Now, if you're coming into HCL digital analytics practice, right? I'll be happy to have a lot of people from Sri Lanka join the practice team in Europe and cater to a lot of the customers that we service today. We typically have defined 4 different capabilities: data engineering, data governance, visualization, and analytics. Engineering is a huge chunk because that's the platform, and then that's all about getting your data into the platform, right? Now that's why you see in the engineering stream, you have ETL, which is extract, transform, and load. Now there is also a lot of, in the modern platform, ETL has become ELT, which is the data lake principle, which I'll talk about in a minute. It has become extract, load, and then transform, which means get the data as quickly as possible to a customer, so that the customer can look at the data and take quick decisions rather than waiting for it forever. Streaming has become very, very important today because, as I said before, data is available in all formats. You have data, from your smart devices, which gets continuously streaming. If I want to fix a problem from a remote, sitting in your house, let's assume there is a problem with your smart device, or your car has stopped in between. How do I ensure that I can fix, or at least do a research on what has happened, or do a problem, solving from remote, right? That's the streaming become very, very important. Data model, as I said, is another key principle. Architecture, storage, data warehouse, marts, and migration. Now, if you want to go into data engineering, again, there are multiple roles, right? We don't expect everything to be done by one single person, because there are a lot of skills, within the data engineering. So that's why if you look at the roles at the bottom, you need data analysts to do analysis of data. You need data modeler to build the data models. You need data architect to do the architecture. ETL developers, big data developers, because the big data developers is where all your big data can come and reside, which is your unstructured data, etc. Data migration SMEs and database developers, right? So you can choose one of these as a specialization, and then you can probably come into the data engineering landscape and take up one of the roles to build the data analytics platform. Now, as a data analytics platform, because we're going to bring a lot of data, data governance plays a very, very important role, because if you don't govern the data properly, then the data can get into a mess. So I've got customer data, I've got product data, I've got supply chain data, I've got financial data, sales data, so many data available in my data platform. Now, how do you ensure that these data is well governed, so that the people who are supposed to see this data are only given access to the data? That is all about data governance. Again, MDM, which is your master data management, becomes very, very key. Given, as I said before, Satish as a customer could have multiple, touch points with a financial institution or with the retailer. Now, how do you ensure Satish is just not one person and not multiple Satishes, right? That's where master data becomes very, very important. Metadata is also very, very important. Metadata is about knowledge about your technical data, right? For example, your column names, customer name. What is the customer name? To me, customer name could be different. To you, customer name could be different, right? Or let's assume CUST ID, cust ID. So you need to create a metadata to ensure that within the organization, everyone follows the same definition of the metadata. That is also very important. Data lineage, which is about, because the data is going to come from different systems, how do I know the data that is in the central platform came from this system? So you need to create the lineage. When you move the data, it is also important that lineage is created without breaking the lineage, right? So that people can make intelligence saying, okay, now I see a value of 1,000 for Satish. Now, how does this 1,000 come? Where did it come from? I should be able to track it back to the source. That's where lineage becomes very, very important. Cataloging is all about, now there are thousands of applications, and each application can have multiple tables, and each tables can have multiple entities, right? So if I have thousands of applications, so then I'm looking at 30,000, 40,000 attributes to be brought into my data lake. How do I know what these 30,000, 40,000 attributes are? It becomes very, very difficult for people to understand. What is the definition of that? That's where you need to catalog. So when you say catalog, you should create a hierarchy. Customer, okay, these are your customer hierarchies. Product, these are your product hierarchies, right? So glossary is basically giving definitions to them. And last, the very, very important data quality, right? So when you move data, it is very, very paramount importance should be given to the quality, because if the quality is not right, then the data doesn't give you any meaning, right? So as you see in the bottom, there are roles that are defined against the data governance. Very, very niche area, and but very, very important. If someone wants to come into data analytics and become a data governance lead, then you could probably look at some of the roles that I put at the bottom, which is MDM developer, data quality analyst, data governance SMEs, data cataloging glossary developers. Similarly, we have set of roles defined for visualization, set of roles defined for analytics. So for analytics, you have data scientist, data analyst, visualization developer. These are some of the roles that you could probably pick up and practice, right? To become a data scientist, you could probably do a lot of analytics, using R, Python, so on and so forth, right? So these are various streams that we have and the roles that we have. Depending on your interest, we could look at where and how you want to grow yourself within HCL. You could choose a specific career path, right? So, can you move to the next slide? Now, so we talked about data platform, right? I wanted to also talk about how did this platform evolve. And today's, because the world is moving in a very speed manner, the platform also has evolved. The last 20 years, if you see, the architecture has evolved multiple times, and the last picture that you see is the most modern platform. But we can still see that some of the customers are still at the step one, which is the first generation platform. When you say it's a first generation platform, it is not that it was in 1970s. This was just in 2000, right? From 2000 to 2020, we have seen 3 generations of platforms. That's the speed of the platform evolution that's happening, because any customer who wants to go digital cannot survive without data. Data becomes the paramount importance, and if you have to make decisions at a real time, you need to have your platform evolving at a specific speed as well. So if you look at the first generation, as I said, it was only one structured data. You have the structured data, you bring ETL processing, which is extract and transform, load into your data warehouse, and then into your BA reports. In 2010, 2011, we moved on to big data world, right? Again, the first generation was all on-prem. So there was a huge challenge in terms of scaling out, right? Because you need to have a data center. Within your data center, you need to have your rack defines, and you can't go beyond that. If you have to scale, then you need to put another server altogether, right? So scalability was a huge challenge. Now from there, we moved on to a big data platform where they brought in a data lake concept, but then which solved the unstructured challenge, but still the on-prem challenge remained. We had to still confine within the data center, but then there was a challenge of unstructured data. So we resolved the unstructured data by bringing in data lake. For example, Cloudera, Hortonworks, all of them came in. Amazon EMR, all of them came in to solve the unstructured format, so that we could take data from your tape devices, data from video devices, audio devices, and make intelligence out of that. But what has happened was the scalability was still a problem, right? You could horizontally scale it or vertically scale it, but then you will still have to be within your data center, right? And then that's where, and also the latency was okay, depending, when you compare to the first generation to the second generation, you resolved some of the latency challenges because you brought in real-time streaming capabilities, etc. But the real-time streaming capability also over a period of time was not enough to make decisions. So that's where in-memory processing, all of that architecture came in the third generation, which is the current modern architecture. If you see the Lakos platform, basically what we are talking is it has capability to do structured, semi-structured, unstructured, but it is also moving on to cloud. So that scalability problem is no more a challenge, right? You don't need to worry about your data centers. You can just move to cloud and scale as much as you want, scale up and scale down depending on your need. For example, if there is a sale going on, right, and Amazon thinks that at that specific Thanksgiving sale, let's take an example of a Thanksgiving sale. Now on a Thanksgiving sale, obviously your hit on the website would be very, very high, and number of people purchasing products would be very high. So you can't run with the same infrastructure. You need to accommodate so many thousands of people, and you need to take so many decisions on the fly. So what has happened was, you had when you move to cloud, you have a flexibility to add resources, right? At a specific time when you know that your platform is going to be busy, I can add additional memory, I can add additional CPUs, I can add whatever resources I want to ensure that the platform is up to 100% available. And that was one key challenge that we resolved when we moved into cloud. But additionally, the in-memory caching and processing. Once the data is in the data lake or in your data warehouse, you have to run your report. Every time your report runs, you don't have to go and hit the table to get the data out. You can cache the data and make it available quickly. So when the report runs, the report will go and see whether the query was already executed. If this query was already executed, it knows, okay, I have already executed this query 10 days back. Why should I go to the table and get my data? It should be available in my memory. So it takes from the memory and immediately shows you. So the first time you ran a report, it could have taken 1 minute to give you data. Now, after 10 days, if you're going to run the same report, you could probably get it within 15 seconds. That's the challenge. That's the kind of platform that we're talking about today. So the last 15-20 years, as you see, there are 3 architectures that has evolved. But I'm sure over a period of time, it is going to be evolving further, because we still have plenty of challenges to address. The amount of data that is increasing day by day, I'm sure there is going to be a lot of innovations happening in this data platform. So it is one of the most quickly scaling up technology in my view. Right? Chala, if you can go to the next slide. Now, when I build a platform, what are the things that I should look at? So there are 8 key things or principles that we should look at when we are building a platform. I will not go into details in the interest of the time, right? But then at a high level, I'll tell you what are the key. As I told, volume, because there are humongous of data, you need to make sure that your modern platform is able to manage the volume. Velocity, data is available at speed. You could get the data at speed, right? So you need to ensure your platform is available all the time and is able to take the data at the speed it is available. Variety, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, so many things, right? Veracity is basically how can you trust? So build the data governance process that I was talking about. When you have the platform, data governance becomes very important, and that is the fourth key principle of modern data platform. Value. Am I giving, at the end of the day, I'm spending so much money to build a platform. Is the business getting value out of this platform? That is a key thing. Variability, right? Can I, that's the data model part, right? Where you have to build a data model that's flexible so that I can store the data and consume the data in whatever different formats I want. Visualization with the business intelligence and etc. Right? And then the viscosity is all about how do you navigate. I talked about the data lineage part, right? So that's the most important aspect as well. So these are 8 very high level key principles that we will think about when we're building a modern data platform. Quickly to the next slide, Chilla. I'll talk about the architecture. Now, this is a simple architecture. Again, it looks too many icons, so it is slightly complex, but it was one of the most simple ways that I could actually denote. If you go into details, there are multiple challenges against or complexities being each one of these items, right? So you have your source systems on your left. As I said before, data could come from cloud, your IoT devices, so on and so forth. You have data coming in from SAP, ERPs, enterprise applications. You have on-prem Teradata applications, master data management, your point of sale, all of that, your financial applications, right? So you need to be able to extract data from all of these or consume data from all of these. Then you can do batch processing, you can do real-time processing, as I said before, because you need to be able to make real-time decisions as well. Then data can get into your data lake, can have proper data governance setup, logging in terms of monitoring your own platform, monitoring the data that gets moved. DevOps principles is very important. Orchestration of data from source to target, that's also a key architecture of your data platform. And then finally your data warehouse, your data marts, etc. Right? So this is high level your architecture of a modern data analytics architecture. So if you come into data analytics practice, right, this will be one of the areas that you would probably be working on one of these areas, right, in the architecture. It could be on the data extraction, it could be on the consumption part, it could be on the data governance part, it could be on the DevOps part, it could be data migration, real-time processing, so on and so forth, right? But yeah, that's the modern architecture that we have built for a lot of our customers. If you can go to the last slide before I touch upon, yeah, again, recapping what I have just spoken, the key tenets of data platform. It needs to be an integrated platform because there are a number of source systems. You need to integrate all of the data together. Speed to market is very important. Security, because you are going to bring in data from a lot of systems, and you should ensure that data is available to only people who should be seeing the data. For example, finance data should not be shown to an HR person. HR data should not be shown to an employee. So you need to ensure that security is managed properly. Repositories, for example, you should have repositories to manage structured data, unstructured data, big data, semi-structured data, all of that. Experience through BI is very important. Overheads, again, because you have to bring all of that data doesn't mean that you have to bring a big platform, have a big bill given to the customer, right? Obviously, you need to ensure that you manage it with the budget that you have. Metadata, as I said before, is very important. Portability, today I am building it in say Azure, I should be able to port it into AWS. So which means you have to build frameworks that enables you to port from one cloud to another cloud. Elasticity is basically how can you scale it, scale down, I was talking about before. Standardization, governance, and analytics, these are some of the key tenets that we take in mind when we are building a modern architecture as well. Right? So that's the end of the technical session that I wanted. I will take 5 minutes to talk about what is HCL capability in this area, right? If you can go to the next slide, Chala. So as I said, I come from the data and analytics practice. I head the Europe delivery and solutions. And if some of you are interested to join the practice, I'll be more than welcome to have you and work with some of our customers. As you see, over the globe, we have about 14,000 SMEs today working on data and analytics, right, from the practice. This is across the globe. In Europe, somewhere about 3,000 to 4,000 people I have working from, either from the customer location or HCL locations in Europe or from our offshore and nearshore locations, right? So we've got in India multiple centers, Romania, Poland, so on and so forth. And we'll be happy to have one in Sri Lanka as well soon, if people are willing to join HCL. We cater to about close to 2,000 customers. We have done 40 different partnerships. If you can look at the bottom, the key technology partnerships that we have partners with Teradata, Microsoft, AWS, Google, SAPs of the world, Snowflakes, Databricks. All the modern technologies, data technologies that we have today is a partner of HCL, because in some shape of the form we are using them to service our customers. HCL itself has built, we have a big COE, Center of Excellence, and we are building our own IPs and solutions offering that we take to customers to accelerate their data platform journey. We have been recognized by multiple analysts in the last 1 year. It could be Gartner, Everest. There's so many analysts in the market that have recognized us in the leader quadrant. And in the partner recognition, if you see, we have got partner recognition from Tableau, from Adobe, Microsoft, GCP, etc., etc. We also have made a lot of acquisitions in the last 3 years, specifically on data and analytics. Right, HCL Software, we've acquired 3 billion, 1 billion worth of products from IBM, which includes some of the data and analytics products as well. Actian is a large data warehouse appliance that we have acquired. Maroda Ventures, DataWave, all of these are specific to data and analytics, and our acquisitions will continue in this space because data analytics is one area where we are growing very, very fast. You can go to the next slide. Chala. Yeah. So the key approach that we adopt is if you join HCL, you will always look at leaders talking about data first approach. What is data first approach? A lot of our customers want to go become a data driven organization. What is a data driven organization? Data driven organization is all about enabling everyone in the organization, right from your CEO, CXO levels to an employee of the organization, taking a decision based on a data. It should not be a decision based on your intuition. We don't want to take a decision saying, oh, I think today this product would sell well. No, that's not. And how do you do that? How do you tell that? Oh, it's just intuition that somewhere I think today I might be able to sell thousands of apples. No, that's not what we want. We want to ensure that people take a decision based on the data that is available. That is what we call data-driven organization. Everyone in the organization should take decisions from data. And how do you enable it? How does HCL make our customers a data-driven organization? Is a data-first approach, right? So basically, there are 5 different things that we look at, which is delivering a business outcomes. Data-first principle, bringing digital to life, enabling customers to a data-driven organization, bringing in data ops within your engineering practice, which is automations. Look at automation at core, then building data platform on a future of the cloud, right? So basically, how do you take a customer from on-prem monolithic platform to a more modularized component on cloud? And finally, analytics, which is basically give them opportunity to do insights, right? And drive outcomes through the insights or analytics, right? These are the 5 key things that we look at through our data first approach. There are accelerators that we have built, approaches that we have built for each one of these, which enables the customers to become data-driven organization, right? So if we can go to the next slide, Chala. At a high level, we talked about 20 plus IPs, but here I've just put 8 to 9, which are very, very key IPs that we have built, which are used by some of our customers to accelerate the data journey. Sketch is how you automate code development. Gatekeeper is all about automated data testing. Advantage DQ is how do you bring in automation and data quality. Meta Wisdom is to manage your metadata. IC is observability at scale. Basically, when you are having your pipelines being run on production, how do you monitor them intelligently and ensure it doesn't fail? Or if it is going to fail, how do you predict the failure and alert it or fix the failure automatically? All of them has an AI component built onto it, right? So some of the intelligence are already embedded so that it can take decisions by itself rather than depending on an engineer to come and fix it, right? So that's the some of the accelerators that we've got in this area. Now we can go to the next slide. We will quickly look at one case study, right? Before I take up questions. We talked about a lot of things, modern data platform, all of that. We talked about the accelerators from HCL, and so on and so forth. But where are we implementing it? Right? We are implementing it in, as you saw, more than 200 customers are using our services, and this is one such customer in the recent year where we have went in, looked at their key challenge, and transformed them to a more modern platform. So what was the challenge with this customer? The customer is one of the largest retailer in Europe, right? One of the key challenge was speed to market for pricing decisions. So this customer is a retailer, so which means this retailer competes directly with other retailers. Now, if he's going to sell a product, how does he know that his competitor is not quoting a price lesser than his price, and so that customer goes there to buy the product, right? So it's on real time, they should be able to see what is the price change that their competitors are making to a specific product and make adjustment to their product so that they can make more revenue from it, right? And second is, how do you attract customers through advertising and pricing? These were the two challenges that they had, wherein we went and fixed it through a modern platform architecture. If you can go to the next slide. Yeah. Are you there, Chala? Okay, so I think I'm not able to see the screen, but that's fine. Let's go on. So what did we do with this customer? So this customer takes competitor data from the third party data providers. They then look at what sort of pricing that the competitors are going to be quoting for that specific product, and then change the price for them to do that. So if you look at the architecture here, right on the left side, it was more of a very difficult architecture, right? So we've got a complex process written. When we went and analyzed the architecture, it was very difficult. So there was a lot of touch points, manual touch points, data coming from different systems. Then there was ETL process that runs. It stores the data in a certain format. Then the pricing team makes some changes to the data, and then they ship it back to the stores, right? It takes about 3 days for them to actually make a decision and change the price. Now, how did we go about doing a change, right? So we went in, we wanted to break all of that manual touch points that you see here. So we onboarded them into a modern platform, brought in capability to do web scraping from their competitor websites, look at the real-time changes of prices that they are making, and then from there on, looked at the product master within their retailer, and then started comparing the products of these competitors versus them. Pricing team was able to make real-time decisions and change it so you might have a 1 liter of Coke being sold for £1.99, right? Suddenly you see that your competitor has brought down it by 10 cents, right? Now your pricing team usually waits for 3 days before they can go and change the price, because on the left side, if you see the architecture, it was very complex architecture. They were waiting for data to be given to them by the various teams, right? But because we have removed all the manual touch points and enabled automation and moved them to a more scalable cloud on Azure, the real-time pricing was available to them. The moment competitor reduces his product price, within few minutes, our customer will know the competitors have reduced the price, so that we should then start giving promotions to that product, so that people come into the store or order it online to buy. That's the change that we brought into the customer. And the analytics as well. They were highly dependent on a third party to do analytics, right? So for example, next week, what should I quote a price for this product? They didn't have a capability for that. They had to give the data to a third party agency. That agency had to run a lot of algorithms and then give them back the data saying, okay, for a 1 liter Coke, you should probably quote $1 or £1.90, because we see that your competitor is going to go somewhere close, right? So they have to wait for the data and they have to pay for that. Now what we've done, because we have moved them to cloud, and all of the cloud service providers give them capability to do their own machine learning algorithms, we brought in that capability as well, brought in data scientists to do the analysis, built them the algorithm so that they can do it on their own and take a decision, right? So that's the architecture we evolved. If you can go to the next slide. The benefits, the benefits that they got from moving away is, I'm not going to go into the major achievement, but let's focus on the business outcome. Because we have moved them to a modern data platform, there was direct impact on the sales revenue, because they were able to sell the product in a competitive manner, right? And that enabled them to increase their sales revenue. Voice of the consumer, because we also enabled them to do an after sales follow up with the customer, we were able to real time get 360-degree feedback on the product or the promotions or the advertisements that we ran for them. Pricing model, as I said before, we built them their own pricing models where they could run algorithms, look at what could be the possible revenue or sales they could get because of a change that they make to the variable, which is in this case variable is your price on a product, right? Then finally, because we removed that significant portion of depending on a third-party vendor to do analytics, we started saving them annually about 250K on the licensing fees, right? So revenue, so that's the outcome. If you build a data model, modern data platform, it directly gives you outcomes on the business, which is very, very important, right? So why do we have to build a platform? Why can't you go and take data from your source applications? The core reason why we want to build a data platform is that business outcome. You drive business outcomes from the platform that you build. That's the key objective. If you can go to the next slide. Finally, the last slide for the session is we have taken this. Go to the next slide as well. Yeah. So we have taken this case study. We are doing it in multiple places, but this case study that I talked about, again, we have gone in and presented along with the customer in multiple forums, and we have won totally I think we've got 5 golds. What you're seeing here is only 2, but we've taken it to 5 different places and we've won 5 different awards in the gold category, right? So that's the level of impact we create in the market through the data and analytics, right? So I will stop here. There is 5 more minutes left before I want to answer any of the questions. I hope this was a very useful session for you all. So any questions you have, Chala? Okay, so Shakir has asked a question. Yes, you will have a lot of opportunity, or you will have a lot of value to our data COE, Shakir, especially if you come with good amount of automation through Python and R and able to build your machine learning models. Obviously, then we will be able to definitely bring in your experience and use it for our data first approach. Yes. Yeah, so from SAP perspective, Mohammed, we have something called SAC, right? SAP Analytics on Cloud. So you could bring in your experience on SAP, which is supply chain or be it any financial planning, etc. And then you can build analytics on top of the SAC component of SAP and help customers make or drive decisions. Yes, there is a lot of role as well. So Kaushalya, we are using, as I said, SAC is one we use for a lot of our customers, and SAP BI is something that we use for reporting as well. So we use both. Okay, so Ashita, the requirement or the skill that we will typically look at when we are taking someone from into data analysis or data analysis role is ability to query data. So you should be very strong on SQL, ability to understand the data, which means once the data is available to you, how do you correlate the data and then bring and map it to the customer requirement. So these are the 2 key things that we will look. One is querying. Second is how do you communicate with business, understand the requirement, and then bring that requirement back and correlate the data that you have. So Sahan, we have plenty of opportunities. As I said, in a modern architecture, DevOps is very, very important aspect. And if you have used Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform, all of that, we'll be very, very happy to take you on board. Any other questions, Chala?
So I have a personal question, if you don't mind. I have a personal question, if you don't mind. You're mentioning about ETL and ELT, right? If you can ELT and ETL. So if you can just explain on the concept once again, and if you can just tell specific tools that people can get trained on.
Absolutely, excellent. Yeah, sure, Chala, we'll do that. So ELT is extract, transform, and load. So extract is all about how do you extract data from the source system. Transform is about how do you transform the data adhering to the business requirements that you got. So your business needs the data in a certain way. Now you can't just take the data from one system and give it to business. You need to tie it back to multiple systems. As I said, it's a central data platform. So you need to make sure that you bring data from your SAP, you bring data from your Salesforce, all of that together, transform the data, right? Bring together, and then finally give it to the customer in a specific format, which is the load. Now that's a traditional way, and the likes of Informatica, Data Stage, a lot of tools and products in the market used to do that, right? Informatica is one successful product that we still continue to use wherever customer wants to go into an ETL product. Now, what is ELT? ELT evolved when data lake came in. Extract, don't transform, load the data. When you load the data, you basically give raw data available to data scientists to make analysis on top of it. Once the analysis is made, then depending on what the customer wants, you transform the data. That's the two key principles. ETL was more traditional, ELT is more modern, which is the data lake concept. Hope I answered that question, sir.
Sure, yeah.
So Prashant has a question. How a person who has 3 to 4 inputs. Absolutely, Prasantan. So you very good question. Today, because customers are moving to a modern data platform, and we are also wanting to scale up our resources, right? We are talking about T-shaped engineers, right? What is a T-shaped engineer? T-shaped engineer is a specific person having a skill, a primary skill of one capability, but also have secondary skills, right? In your way, ClickSense could be a primary, but you should also be there should also be a lot of secondary skills that you should acquire, which is data engineering, the ETL part, extraction, transformation, loading, etc. Click anyway gives you that opportunity. If you are good in ClickSense, there is QDI, which is Click Data Integration, right? We could use your experience on Click to train you on that. We have a dedicated training facility which can continuously upskill people and move them across different streams of data platform. Very good question, Prashant. So Uday, very again good question. Data and business analytics is very important. As I said before, we are not looking for a person to only come with data analysis skills. Business is very important. If you are going to work for a retailer, as I said, there could be multiple domains, right? So there is also domain training that you should look at. If you want to become part of a retailer, then you should probably look at supply chain as a domain, demand planning as a domain, procurement as a domain, and become competent on that, so that you could become a pure data from business analytics, right? Or if you want to go into a financial sector, probably you should look at savings, or you should look at risk as one of the key things. Domain, financial crime as another domain. There are multiple opportunities with that. So in each stream, manufacturing, pharma, there are multiple streams. Take your domain and become competent in that area, and also improve your SQL capability as well. I'm a graduate in data science and supply chain management with professional qualifications in computer science. Sure, Trishan, good to know that. And as I said, supply chain is very important aspect. So yeah, we have plenty of opportunities, right? So we serve a lot of retailers. The one case study that I was talking about is all about a retailer. And we have hundreds of retailers that we service to in Europe and outside, right? So there is plenty of opportunity, and supply chain planning is very important domain in HCL. And that's one area where we continuously do analytics, and we'll be very happy to consider you for that role. Yeah.
So we have a question from Dhanushi. So what she says that she's a DevOps person with 4 years of experience and is planning to take up a course in data engineering. Does HCL offer people opportunity to switch tracks as such?
Absolutely. We always motivate that. As I said before, training is one important aspect, and we always consider people to move to different streams, right? From DevOps to DataOps, from DataOps to DevOps, or from DevOps you want to become a data engineer, from data engineer you want to become a data governance. We always encourage people to switch and become a T-shaped engineer rather than a I-shaped engineer.
All right. I think, yeah, we would love to take more questions, but I think we are completely out of time at this point of time. I think the audience can actually follow us on our social media handles to know more about the tech trends in HCL Sri Lanka, and also the enticing job opportunities we have for you. It was a pleasure hosting this session. Sincere thanks to Thothadri, Satish for taking their time off their busy schedule. Till we meet again in the next episode, stay safe and take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.